Hi, I'm Leslie Tay, and I am an opera singer and a voice teacher, and I have been living in Holland Village in my own flat for the past 2.5 years. Over the years, I realized that actually there are a lot of my colleagues who live in the neighbourhood, and I wanted to explore finding a way to just bring all of us together to do something together. This whole project is titled Holland Village, the Bohemian Life, and it's in the form of a musical composition that composer Lee Jinjun has written, and I provided the lyrics for this composition.
When Leslie first approached me about this project and he told me who else he had gathered, I was like, oh, but they're all classical musicians. So I was like, really? What do you want me to do? I can be the host. And he was like, no, I think I might want you to sing. I'm like, oh, okay. I was surprised. I was up for it. I thought it'd be interesting to see who are the people who live in Holland Village, who are artists. I moved in here when the HDB flats were new, so that was in 1974. I've been here for 48 years, and I think that Holland Village has really changed over the years, and it's very different from what I remember as a child.
I've pretty much grown up in Holland Village in the last 20-30 over years. So I've seen a lot of changes. It has really been a place where it provided lots of food and lots of friends and community.
There was an open air cinema. I remember tickets were 50 cents, and you had to sit on these metal seats, and they sold kacang putih outside.
I remembered for the first time in my life that was the real dessert of movies. It wasn't popcorn, it wasn't soft drinks.
Where I am, we are at the less glamorous part of Holland Village. But what drew me really was the fact that I'm just one level above the wet market, the hawker centre. And when I first moved here, I could smell the market every day. A lot of my neighbours were, they either had stalls in the hawker centre or my immediate neighbour, he had a vegetable stall downstairs.
In this area, there are a lot of musicians who live here. And I think that is quite interesting because I hear them sometimes, especially during COVID when everything was shut down, I can hear everyone practicing. Just even understanding and knowing that they are in my area, it just feels good. It just feels good to know that there are other people like me. They could have an occupation, like they could be doing something else, but they enjoy this aspect of music. And we're all living in the same space. I mean, it's quite heartwarming. Yeah.
When I first moved here, I was still young enough and I was still partying a lot, and a lot of times I would come back at 3 or 4 in the morning. At first I thought my neighbours were still up, but I realised after a while that actually at 3 and 4 they were getting ready to go to work. Because when you run a hawker stall, you need to prepare way before you serve breakfast at 6, so they had to be downstairs by 4. I always felt like that kept me grounded. The artists live a very privileged life, and we have our own world, we live in our own world, and we get carried away sometimes, and this is nice to be brought back down to earth and to be rooted in reality. We deal in fantasy, but it's good to be rooted and living in reality.
As you can see, I have a grand piano in my house. It sits in my living room, my tiny living room. I have neighbours who have come to me and talked to me, and if I ever travel, they will wonder how come the piano has stopped for like so many days. I've also had neighbours who live in the area, and sometimes they bring their kids down to the playground outside to play, and then they hear me playing, and they will come up and look for me and ask me about it. So that's really nice.
So as a classical musician, we all play music that's like 200, 300 years old. But we also always want to do something different to it, have a fresh take on it. I think similarly, Holland Village is a place with a lot of tradition, but at the same time, there's always something new in it. It's also refreshing to see the contrast between something old and new. It sort of inspires me that way.
So Holland Village is a very interesting place for me. There's a lot of energy and vibrance. There's this quietness about it as well, and warmth in the residential areas. The combination of these two was something I really wanted to play around with when writing this piece.
When I first heard the song, of course I jumped straight to the part that I had to sing, and I then got stressed out, very stressed out. But then when I went back to the top to listen to the whole piece, I realized that it's actually a very pretty song. It's pretty because it's classical. It's pretty because it sounds nostalgic. The song does remind you of the history or the past that Holland Village once had.
Holland Village is changing very quickly. They're building these new high-rises, these new condos. The song brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. When I hear the song, I think of the old Holland Village in simpler times.
I really like the combination of Pam and Leslie together because, Leslie being an operatic singer and Pam being more of a Broadway sort of singer, coming together of different worlds. It's pretty much what Holland Village is about as well, I think.
Because that's the whole idea of this, right? To get different people involved and with their different styles, it's like a melting pot.
What is home? I think at the end of the day, I think it's really about the people, sometimes more than the location. I think it's that community feeling, that feeling of belonging. And I think that's really fostered through the relationships that we have with the people around us.
I find music is an accumulation of life experiences. How I experience, how I view life, it will in turn result in how I view music.
You need to connect with people, and that connection informs our art as well.
It also then brings to mind that idea of bringing arts to the neighbourhoods. But I think what makes this unique and special to us is that it's a neighbourhood that we all happen to live in.